I'd like to call this meeting to order. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Councilmember Gregg. Councilmember Shealy.
Here.
Councilmember McBride.
Here.
Councilmember Mitchell.
Here.
Councilmember Brady.
Present.
Councilmember Gregory. Councilmember Waring.
Here.
Councilmember Seekings.
Here.
Councilmember Tinkler.
Present.
Councilmember Bowden.
Here.
Councilmember Appel.
Here.
Councilmember Parker. Mayor Cogswell.
Here. I'd now like to ask Councilmember Waring to give the invocation and lead everybody in the pledge.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You know, I looked at the news recently and I saw the unrest on so many college campuses around the universe, around the United States. Decades ago, myself and many others were involved with desegregating schools in Charleston County. You were involved with that too. It's nothing like going to school and people standing in your way and you're just trying to get an education. When I saw the unrest and the unfairness taking place to those students, Columbia University and the like, I thought, how would I pray for those students? How would I be inclusive with them? And I thought, I'll ask Rabbi Remsen. Could you come forward, please? To say a prayer that I would never be able to do, by the way, at a time like this.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, as we commence with the sacred task of municipal governance, let us pray that you still the hearts of city leaders and inspire high moral character and spiritual maturity, so that among the many voices that cry out to them, may they hear your voice above all others. As we look to our mayor, mayor pro tem, council members for assurance and guidance, especially at times of strife, inspire them to lead from their knees. And by that simple grace, bring each one of us to our knees before your divine throne. May the radiance of moral clarity and Charleston's congeniality emanate from this space, illuminating the holy city and beyond, enriching us with the wisdom that fulfills the timeless words of Proverbs, Nasan Hashem enayim leros v'oznayim lishma. The Lord has given us eyes to see and ears to hear. May it enable us to discern between good and evil, wisdom and foolishness, religious intolerance and religious freedom, fanaticism and open-mindedness, bigotry and acceptance. Please, O Lord, let the Judeo-Christian values that our great country was founded on and are so deeply ingrained in the fabric of our city continue to inspire us all to honor the dignity of difference, recognizing that one who is not in our image is nonetheless in your image, never forgetting that people not like us are still people like us. At this fateful moment in the human story, bless us all so that we may be a blessing to others. Amen.
Thank you so much, Rabbi. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This week, so I would like to invite Chief Walker to the podium as I read the proclamation honoring this week. Where I put it? Okay. Whereas there are more than 800,000 law enforcement officers serving in communities across the United States, including the dedicated members of the City of Charleston Police Department. And whereas since the first recorded death in 1786, there are currently 24,067 law enforcement officers in the United States that have made the ultimate sacrifice and have been killed in the line of duty, including 24 known members of the City of Charleston Police Department. And whereas it is important that all citizens know and understand the problems, duties, and responsibilities of their police department, and that members of our police department recognize their duty to serve the people by safeguarding life and property, by protecting them against violence or disorder, and by protecting the innocent against deception and the weak against oppression or intimidation. And whereas the names of the dedicated public servants killed in the line of duty are engraved on the walls of the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial in Washington, D.C., and whereas 282 new names of fallen heroes are being added to the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial this spring, including 118 officers killed in 2023 and 164 officers killed in the previous year. And whereas the service and sacrifice of all officers killed in the line of duty will be honored during the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial Fund's 36th Annual Candlelight Vigil on the evening of May 13th, 2024. And whereas May 15th is designated as Peace Officers Memorial Day in honor of all fallen officers and their families, and U.S. flags should be flown at half staff. And whereas we publicly salute the service of law enforcement officers in our community and in our communities across the nation, and thank them for safeguarding the lives of our citizens. Now, therefore, I, William S. Cogswell, Mayor of Charleston, on behalf of City Council, do hereby proclaim May 10th through the 16th in the City of Charleston to be National Police Week. Now I would like to invite Judge Michael Maloney and family to join us here on the podium to honor the long and distinguished career that the judge has had for the City of Charleston. Whereas the City of Charleston wishes to recognize one of its most dedicated citizens, Michael A. Maloney, who has served his community through his distinguished legal career, the U.S. Air Force, the Catholic Church, and many community associations he has been a part of for many years. And whereas Judge Maloney served as an associate judge for the City of Charleston's Municipal Court for over 40 years, having first been appointed in 1981. And whereas Judge Maloney served as the first and only judge who hears the city's livability court cases to address the city's ordinance violations related to the quality of life, and since its creation, cities throughout South Carolina have adopted their own livability courts. And whereas in addition to serving on the court, Judge Maloney was a member of over 27 different legal and professional organizations, many of which he served on committees or in leadership positions in an effort to stay engaged and help his community. And whereas Judge Maloney's commitment to his career, his country, his community, and his church have earned him many awards, including the Order of the Palmetto, the highest honor in South Carolina for civic achievement, awarded in 1981 by Governor Richard Riley. And whereas because of Judge Maloney's continuous dedication and willingness to serve his community, Charleston is a better place. Now, therefore, I, William S. Cogswell Jr., Mayor of the City of Charleston, honor the work of Judge Michael A. Maloney, do hereby proclaim Tuesday, May 14th, 2024, Judge Michael Maloney Day. All right. Now, I would like to invite Peter Shade and his family to the podium for the swearing in, as he will be one of our newest municipal judge. I brought a cheat sheet with me. You got a cheat sheet? Good. All right. You have the Bible? Yeah, we have the Bible. All right. She would, it's your right hand on the Bible, right? You place your hand on the Bible and repeat after me. I do solemnly swear that I am duly qualified,
I do solemnly swear that I am duly qualified,
according to the Constitution of this state,
according to the Constitution of this state,
to exercise the duties of the office to which I have been appointed,
to exercise the duties of the office to which I have been appointed,
and that I will, to the best of my ability,
that I will, to the best of my ability,
discharge those duties and will preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of this state and the United States.
to discharge those duties in the
And will preserve,
and will preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of this state and of the United States.
I pledge to uphold the integrity and independence of the judiciary.
I pledge to uphold the integrity and independence of the judiciary.
I pledge in the discharge of my duties
I pledge in the discharge of my duties
to treat all persons who enter the courtroom
to treat all persons who enter the courtroom
with civility, fairness, and respect.
with civility, fairness, and respect.
I pledge to listen courteously,
I pledge to listen courteously,
sit impartially,
sit impartially,
act promptly,
act promptly,
and rule after careful and considerate deliberation.
and rule after careful and considerate deliberation.
I pledge to seek justice
I pledge to seek justice
and justice alone,
and justice alone,
so help me God.
so help me God. Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you very much.
You want to sign up here and you want to say a few words?
I want to read to y'all a very quick excerpt from a letter that was written back in February of 1969. And in 2022, we dedicated the courtroom on the first floor of the judicial complex to Judge Richard Fields. And Judge Fields was the first African-American lawyer person to serve in this role. And he was appointed by Mayor Gilliard. And in the letter to Mayor Gilliard back in 1969, accepting this responsibility, he wrote these words. And I will reflect this to you, Mayor Coswell. May I say to you that I am aware of all of the implications and responsibilities attached to the office and to your leadership of the city government. Therefore, I pledge to you and to council my full adherence to the inherent traditions for a judge of that court. And should you feel that at any time my moving out of the position to which I have been selected will be in the best interest of the city, feel free to suggest it. It is obvious that Judge Fields served with a high level of integrity and a high level of humility. And those words I take seriously, I take with deep heart, and we're here to do one thing, to serve the citizens of our community. I appreciate the confidence, Mayor, that you've bestowed on me. Madam Clerk, thank you for all of your kind courtesies. To my former colleagues, thank you for your confidence in me as well. And I appreciate the opportunity to do that. I want to thank my family. My sister Joanne is here, my son Pete, Mary, Maria Oslagi, our neighbor Ann, and Holly and her son are here with me. I appreciate y'all's presence. I appreciate all of y'all being here. Thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you. Next on the agenda are public hearings. There are no public hearings tonight, so we will move on to the approval of council minutes. Motion properly seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Now we're on to citizens participation. Just a reminder to everybody that citizens participation period is 30 minutes. How many people do we have signed up?
We have 25.
25. So everybody will get 1 minute. And I just want to remind everybody that comes up to speak of the rules of decorum. We will enforce the rules of decorum. We ask for respect and to make sure that you address your comments not to individuals. This is not a question and answer. This is a time for you all to have your voices heard. But again, please be respectful. If you are not, I will bang the gavel. And if you persist and I bang it again, you will be escorted out of the meeting. So one other thing, just as a sign of respect, if everybody would make sure that their cell phones are on silent. So let's go with the first speaker.
All right. And just a reminder, the time is 1 minute and we have the microphone up front in the center. The first speaker is Anthony Bryant.
I would prefer Mr. Anthony G. Bryant when I speak for this, Mr. Anthony G. Bryant only. I made a public comment to the Commission on Law Enforcement Agency, Inc., 2016 to 17. At that meeting before in the municipal building, the county building, about the sheriff reaccreditation, St. Charles Police Department reaccreditation, didn't get it. Who was at that meeting? U.S. Secret Service, handles crimes against children, money laundering, O'Connell v. Mason, Graham v. Riddle regarding public officials. I need to get that information back to me so I can proceed with my lawsuit. You have it. You just put the gavel up to give everybody the right to be civil and civic. I need my FOIA request answered by your office so I can proceed with my action against this body on my speech at my assembly. Have a nice day.
And I'm going to read out the next 3 speakers. So if you could queue up behind the microphone, Diana Yarborough, Christine McPherson, and Britton Phillips.
Hi, Mayor, City Council. I'm here tonight. I am a resident of Hampton Park Terrace for almost 25 years, my family of 7. And I'm here tonight to let you know that we are completely opposed to the Citadel's concert plan. And we ask that you allow the neighborhood into the process and not settle this behind closed doors. Without any contact with our neighborhood, the Citadel began submitting applications and advertising for a concert series to turn the Johnson Haygood Stadium into one of the area's largest entertainment venues with a planned attendance capacity of over 14,000 attendees. That's from the Citadel Live and Southern Entertainment websites. The neighborhood has had no chance to express concerns and has not been a part of the special events committee process. The use of the stadium for outdoor rock concerts will cause substantial detriment to surrounding properties and homes, and the character of the district will be severely harmed. The intensity of this use is not comparable to the Cistern or Stonyfield or Joe Riley Stadium. None of these are even half that size. And there's just so many troubling aspects to it, the lack of parking and the traffic. And we ask that you take the neighborhood into consideration. Thank you.
Christine McPherson.
Mr. Mayor and council members, my name is Christine McPherson. I live at 276 Congress Street. I am here to voice my opposition to the Citadel's zoning variance request for a special event permit submitted to the city of Charleston to host large-scale music acts this year and beyond at Johnson Haygood Stadium in partnership with Southern Entertainment, forming a lasting relationship for years to come that will facilitate about 6 to 10 concerts per year. This information is from the Post and Courier, which was our source of information January 6th, 2024. The impact on our neighborhood will be much greater than football games, wine events, family-friendly events. And while
Time.
those done, okay, thank you very much for your attention.
Britton Phillips, Ashley Jennings, and just the first name, Mar.
Thanks for your time. I'm Britton Phillips. I'm going to join the chorus here. I'm at 14 Parkwood Avenue. I'm actually in the West Side neighborhood, not Hampton Park Terrace. We've got the same concerns about the Citadel concert series. We're talking about 13,000 people coming into that neighborhood. The stadium sits right in the middle of this residential area. It's going to be a huge, huge negative impact for our neighborhood and for Hampton Park Terrace. Traffic's going to be awful. Parking is going to be really rough. I've got real concerns about security. I've got 2 kids. There are 9 kids just on my 1 block of Parkwood, dozens of other kids in the adjoining blocks, hundreds of kids in the neighborhoods. I hate to say it, we're probably going to have a lot of drunk drivers in for these concerts, a lot of security issues. It's too much for the Citadel and the city to ask the neighborhood to bear. So I'd ask you to just take that into consideration. They've got a zoning variance that they're trying to push through. We're going to push back as hard as we can on that. And then through the special events permitting process as well. So at every step of the process, we intend to oppose this. Thanks. Appreciate it.
Ashley Jennings, Mar, and apologies if I'm mispronouncing that, and Autumn Waddell.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for letting us speak tonight. I'm also a member of the Hampton Park Terrace Neighborhood Association. My name is Ashley Jennings. I'm here to speak and echo the concerns of the other neighbors, but I also want to mention infrastructure. And one of the things that's a big concern about having 13,000 people in our neighborhood coming to a concert is the lack of parking, the lack of wide enough roads to handle that number of cars, and the way that you come in and out of the neighborhood. So my major concern with this is to echo what everybody else says, but how is the city going to support the number of cars for that event? Thank you.
And if you could queue up when I call your name, I believe the first name is Mar, then Autumn Waddell, and Alexis Michelle. That's Autumn Waddell.
Hi, I'm a Charleston citizen, and I urge you to pass the ceasefire resolution proposed by Free Palestine Charleston. I hope that seeing the amount of people you represent who care about this issue, who have been showing up to city council meetings or submitting online comments, is enough to make you care too. It is not fair to ignore the voices of your own constituents, and it's not fair to ignore injustice. We are only asking for you to do for Palestinians and those most impacted what you already did for Ukrainians and for the victims of the October 7th attack. As Charlestonians and Americans, we are global citizens, and the way you respond to global catastrophe sets the tone for the way the world sees us and the way we feel in our own city. Neglecting to honor the humanity of marginalized people by calling for an end to the violence waged against them makes Charleston a safe space for white supremacy and other forms of bigotry, and further endangers the marginalized people in our own community. Just last night, IOF soldiers from the front lines of an army responsible for unspeakable war crimes were being celebrated here in Charleston. Meanwhile, I have firsthand witnessed the threats and harassment directed at myself and others simply for calling for peace and for Palestinians to be treated as humans. How can this issue not feel personal when my taxes are being used?
Time. Alexis Michelle.
My name is Alexis, and I urge the City Council to pass a permanent ceasefire resolution, echoing the growing calls of many in this city and across the country. I have friends in Gaza who've been displaced multiple times since October. I have feared for their safety and have mourned their personal losses. They've expressed how much my daily prayers and moral support through calls and messages mean to them. Every single one of us in this room knows the comforting feeling of moral and symbolic support from others who care, especially in the darker times in our lives. You insist this isn't relevant to city matters, but please reconsider. It has directly affected many here. There are people like me who have loved ones in Gaza, and there are people who have loved ones in Israel who are wanting a peaceful resolution as well. The Holy City has a chance to pass a resolution calling for a future of peace, equal rights, dignity, and respect for all in the Holy Land.
Time.
Thank you.
Jim Myrick, Esther Aravo, and Shane Dooley.
Good afternoon. I'm Jim Myrick. Thank you so much for all you're doing. We appreciate the dedication that you have. I speak here today in support of the group in opposition to the Citadel's request for variance and zoning for rock concerts at Johnson Haygood. I've lived in this neighborhood for 35 years, and our greatest concern is the stealth with which it's being approached. In January of this year, the Citadel posted, "Get ready for rock concerts at the Citadel. It will be the largest outdoor venue in the area." That's 14,000 people coming into our residential neighborhood. And you all know where Johnson Haygood is. It's not like Daniel Island or even Joe. It's planted in the middle of our neighborhood. Our neighborhood is residential with an overlay of school. Well, a request was put forward to Lee Batchelder in the Planning Commission. He says, no, this doesn't fly here for two reasons. Number one, the intensity of what you're requesting is just too high. And the second reason, it's not really in the purposes of a higher school. Please put it on your radar. Thank you for your time.
Esther.
My name is Esther. I'm an artist and concerned citizen of the Tri-County area. My purpose for speaking today is to demand Charleston City Council to draft an emergency resolution calling for an immediate ceasefire in Gaza and an end to Charleston's federal taxpayer-funded military support of the genocidal and apartheid state of Israel. Here in Charleston County, located at Cross Point at Palmetto Commerce Park, stands a weapons manufacturer known as Elbit Systems America, a subsidiary of Israeli-owned Elbit Systems Incorporated. In September 2021, the South Carolina Coordinating Council for Economic Development authorized Charleston County to use $700,000 set-aside grant to assist Elbit in business operations. The Elbit site also qualified for 2 tax-lowering incentives, as which were a fee in lieu of tax credits known as FILET and Special Source Revenue Credit, SSRC. These incentives granted Elbit to save the business 40% or more in property taxes, diverting millions of funds from South Carolina public schools. The facility mains operations fulfill contracts from the Israeli Ministry of Defense to build an automated vehicle mounted with artillery system and howitzer. Please end the the city of Charleston's complicity in this genocide against the Palestinian people and stop diverting our tax dollars away from our communities and into the hands of war criminals. Thank you.
Shane Dooley, followed by Kevin Eberly and Deborah Wright.
Hello, City Council and Mayor Cogswell. This is a great location today. Please stand up if you are here supporting a ceasefire resolution regarding the situation in Gaza. That's a decent amount of people, and we have been showing up for the last 5 months for this. I implore the city of Charleston to take a stance here. We have presented ceasefire resolutions. They have not been voted on. I don't know if they've been looked at. I encourage them to be looked at. I encourage everyone here to look at that. It's been 7 months. 7 months. Every single day, people are dying from this. It's atrocious. This is a local issue. As you can see, we have dozens of people here. We're out in the streets talking about this. And the city has made statements on other international issues. We can make a statement on this one. I want the people of Charleston to know that this city does not stand for the atrocities happening in Gaza. Thank you.
Kevin Eberly and Deborah Wright.
Good evening. Thank you very much for having us. My name is Kevin Eberly. I live at 367 President Street, where I've lived for 28 years. I'm also opposed to the plans for the conversion of the Johnson-Higgett Football Stadium into the area's largest outdoor concert venue. We're strongly opposed to this. And I'm, by the way, the president of the Neighborhood Association as well. We've met with Councilman Gregory, who I know is unfortunately not here tonight. He totally backs the neighborhood. We're just very concerned about what is going to be a terrible intrusion into a residential area that would be tolerated nowhere else in the city, especially with no input from the neighbors. And so I'd ask the city council to, like Councilman Gregory, strongly support us in this. Thanks.
Deborah Wright, Maria Mansfield Richardson, and Anna.
Honorable Mayor.
Oh,
Council members. I'm sorry. Honorable Mayor, council members, my name is Deborah Wright, and I live on Hughie Street. I've lived there since January 97. I love the neighborhood, love my neighbors, living near Hampton Park. And thank you for listening to the neighbors. I'm opposed to the stadium being turned into a concert hall or a huge outdoor concert venue. Council member Gregory does support the neighborhood in our opposition. Too much traffic, too much noise, no infrastructure. This is a family neighborhood. Lots of children live in the neighborhood. We're not set up to handle this. We don't want this in our neighborhood. And I hope that you will consider all of that and vote against the stadium being changed into concert venue. Thank you.
Maria Mansfield Richardson, Anna, and Andrew Plunkett.
Hello, Mayor and City Council members. I'm Maria Mansfield Richardson. I've been a resident of Hampton Park Terrace for 30 years. I love my neighborhood. I love my neighbors. Our neighbors range in age from 4 months to 94. These are just the people I know personally. We need a good night's sleep. 13,000 people coming into your backyard and partying until who knows how late. Because the last few times they've had events in that stadium, we've called the police. One police person, operator said, "Can you please turn down that music, that radio? I can't hear you. I can't understand you." And I said, "That radio is not a radio. That's the stadium noise. That's what you're hearing. It's coming from the stadium 2 blocks away." So we emphatically ask for your help in this matter. Don't make it a closed door decision. The Citadel has never come forward to us. They started advertising and planning this series long before we heard about it.
Time.
So thank you very much.
And Anna, Andrew Plunkett, and Taylor McElwain.
220 days ago, Israel began its final stage of genocide, extermination. If you guys don't know, genocide is a process, it's not something that happens overnight. Over 35,000 people have been exterminated, innocent people, 14,000 of whom are children. Just in case we're not sure about what the stages of genocide are, classification, symbolization, discrimination, dehumanization, organization, polarization, preparation, persecution, extermination, and denial. This council, this city, continues to deny what's happening to the innocent people of Gaza. I refuse to stand up here another week and beg you to have humanity. A representative of our state recently voiced support for nuking Gaza. This is a call for the continuation of genocide by our senator. By passing this resolution, Charleston is showing the rest of the state and the world that we, as a community, do not condone violence.
Time.
You are correct. It isn't a local issue. It's a global issue. And as a community and members of the world, we are called to speak up. As Asada Shakur said, it is our duty to fight for freedom. It is our duty to win. We must love and support each other. We have nothing to lose but our chains. Thank you.
Andrew Plunkett, Taylor McElwain, and Maddie.
Thanks for the opportunity to address, and I like the way that you give everybody a chance to speak. I am also part of the neighborhood association opposed to the Citadel's move. I live on Parkwood with my wife, been here since 2010. We just don't have the capacity in the neighborhood and the infrastructure. All the things that were mentioned, we were not included in the process, so we just want to be included because there's severe impacts. We have trouble with football games now, and the number of people is just, it's just too much. So we ask for your consideration and support in hearing that matter further and including us in the process. Thank you.
Taylor McElwain, Maddie, and Lacey Lindsay.
Hello, my name is Taylor McElwain. This evening, we've heard talk of protecting civilians, of fallen heroes, and of efforts to help the community. We've spoken of these things all while ignoring the dozens of your own constituents who come to these meetings week after week to ask that you recognize the fallen children of Palestine, the civilians who face bombardment by Israeli forces, and the communities that have been torn apart by Israel's violence against Palestinians and the inherent violence of the occupation of Palestine. Again, the ceasefire resolution has already been written. It calls for an end to the genocide and the indiscriminate killing of innocent people. It is the bare minimum, and yet you still can't meet our eyes when we talk about it. You refuse to condemn genocide and to affirm the Palestinians and Arabs of Charleston. You all have reason to be ashamed. The definition of genocide per the UN is intent to destroy in whole or in part a national, racial, ethnic, or religious group of people. Israel's actions clearly meet this definition, and yet week after week, you sit and stare in silence, refusing to do the work that your constituents are so clearly passionate about. Again, the people of Charleston call for a ceasefire.
Maddie, followed by the speakers on our online sign up, Lacey Lindsay and Caroline Frady.
Hello, City Council. Hello, Mayor. My name's Maddie. Me and others here today are for a public call on a ceasefire resolution. I have to ask you, for a state that is so pro-life, how are we complicit in the millions and thousands of children, women, and men dying every single day? There are women, children, people everywhere, thousands, millions of them dying every single day. We have not yet publicly pressed the issue on a ceasefire here in the council. We have been doing this for months on end, and y'all have just not done anything. We turn a blind eye and hide away by money while there is a modern colonization happening in modern times, and you are all complicit for it. Thank you.
Lacey Lindsay, Caroline Frady, and Dr. Sabana Siddiqui. And if anyone is online, you can press *6 to unmute yourself when I call your name.
Good evening. Tonight I'm speaking on behalf of two of your constituents who do not feel safe enough to be here tonight. Both support a ceasefire resolution. My best friend is a Jewish woman who has lived in Charleston since she was 8 years old. Many have told her that it is a difficult time to be Jewish. She agrees, but not for the reasons that they would think. I have watched as she has struggled with shame and disgust as her faith, which she had previously known to proclaim peace and liberation, is being used to justify war crimes and genocide. Another dear friend is a Palestinian man who was born in Jerusalem. He has lived in Charleston for the past 13 years. I have watched him suffer with immense despair and fear of our own community. From him, I have also learned of samud, a uniquely Palestinian virtue, which translates to steadfastness. My friends will persevere, but they will remember that their elected officials could not do the bare minimum. History will remember too. Thank you. Free Palestine.
Caroline Frady and Dr. Siddiqui.
There are currently 16 hospital beds, field hospital beds, available for over 1 million people displaced in Rafah right now. Yet children are dying daily of starvation, dehydration, and widespread disease, and of course, US-supplied, North Charleston, Elbit-supplied missiles. Our own state senator, Lindsey Graham, has said to level the place with a nuclear bomb. We should all be deeply alarmed. I don't know what number will finally get through to you all, but 16 to 1 million is a pretty jarring ratio, isn't it? I don't know how many children have to be ripped apart for us to come together. We're not trying to work against you. We're asking to work with you to end massacre and destruction. We're asking you to recognize that as public servants, it is your duty to listen to the citizens that you serve, and it is also your duty to be global citizens, to say enough is enough, that never again is now, and to stand up for human rights. Ceasefire now.
Dr. Siddiqui, followed by Penn Duche and Cloud Duncan.
Can I hand this to the mayor?
He's okay.
Hearing all the people here talking about overcrowding around the Citadel is making me think about the 1 million people who are overcrowded at the Rafah crossing border. What I'm handing you is something that an 8-year-old girl gave me on Mother's Day. It's a paper airplane she told me to fly. It has a message asking you to free Gaza, and she asked me to fly it somewhere, so I'm honoring her wishes. And the mayor had said this is not a local issue, so this is Exhibit A. Exhibit B, that there were 2 war criminals hosted right around the corner from City Hall last night in celebration. How can you say this is not a local issue? How can you say you're dedicated to keeping people in Charleston safe? So I'm asking you once again to break the silence. Will anyone break the silence? Will anyone condemn war criminals in Charleston? No, no. Will anyone condemn the racist Senator Lindsey Graham?
Yeah, it's not a question and answer.
Time.
It's time to go. Point of order. Point of order.
All right, Penn Duche, Cloud Duncan, and Jamie Smith.
Hello, my name is Cloud. In February of this year, 11-year-old Doreen Al-Baya woke up from a 15-day coma after her home was bombed in the Gaza Strip. She woke up to the news that the same bombing that put her in a coma killed her parents, her 8-year-old brother, 3 grandparents, and all of her aunts and uncles and cousins living in her house. Her story, while devastating, is not unique at all. The genocide has orphaned thousands of children and murdered at least 15,000 more. For the past 5 months, people have shared countless heartbreaking stories begging you to act, and yet you sit here staring at them. We see you on your phones. Why don't you care? You are not just complicit, you are an active participant in this genocide. It is well past time for the city of Charleston to pass a ceasefire resolution and stop sending money to Israel to commit genocide.
Jamie Smith and Rue Webb. And if you're online, you can press *6 to unmute yourself. All right, was there anyone who signed up that I skipped over? All right, we did receive some comments online. We received comments from Mr. Bryant, and those were sent to council in full. And we also received 2 comments in support of a resolution supporting a ceasefire in Gaza, and those were all the comments we received.
Free, free Palestine!
Free, free Palestine!
Point of order. Get them out. Point of order. Get them out. Point of order, every single one of them should have their name, address taken, and banned from these meetings. I don't know what we're waiting for.
It's a joke.
This is a joke.
Okay, understood. Apologies for the disruption, ladies and gentlemen. Let's move along. Not given what they're looking for. Moving on to, where are we? Consent agenda. We have a meeting of Human Resources Committee. No actions were taken. All updates, and no action is required by council. So, any comments regarding the HR committee meeting? Moving on then to committee reports. I would like to call on Councilmember Parker to make a report relating to Committee on Recreation.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We had a full agenda. We discussed field maintenance all around the city. We've spread out our programming into some community parks, and the parks have looked great. Some programming updates. We have over 5,000 youth children signed up for spring sports, which are great numbers, as we know. Thanks again to all our volunteers and staff for getting everybody out there on our fields. I think we're about 2 weeks out from being finished. We had a great presentation by First Tee, thanks to Councilmember Shealy. They are a great organization. I sent them, I asked that they present possibly in the real estate committee because they are looking for some land. The fun part about them is they like lowland. So we have plenty of that here. They have a great program. I hope you guys look into it. We did have 2 items that need to be voted on tonight. And I think we're gonna have someone from Recreation or Parks share the fee schedule with y'all. They are revising the fee schedule for special events applications and permits administered by the city of Charleston. And another great piece of that is that all of this will be available on Rec Track, open to the public, showing field availability for parties or baseball, all of that. So I'm going to continue. I'm going to keep going, and then I'll let you. We'll also have. No, go ahead, Lori. I think, we have an agreement, a lease agreement between the city and the youth soccer club. So we'll vote on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Parker. Katie's here for special events as well as I from Recreation and Parks. I'm here to answer any questions. We have not changed our fee structure for park permitting since 2009. We've been getting a lot of requests for use of fields and facilities for birthday parties and used by the community. We work together, been working on this for the last 5 or 6 months with the Parks Department. And the fees would put us in line with other recreation departments across the city. The fees for a non-resident are double the fee for a city resident. So we certainly pass along the savings to our city residents. And I can remind everyone that you do not have to have a permit to use a city park. But it does mean that if you reserve a spot at a city park, you have a use for your event. So if you want to have a picnic with your family, you reserve the picnic shelter, you would have it. If you don't reserve the picnic shelter, there may already be a group there, so you'd have to take your family to another spot. So anyway, I can answer any questions from the Parks and Recreation side. Katie's here for the special events side.
Mayor? Any questions?
I just want to ask one question. How much the fees are going up versus what it was?
So
Do you
the
know that?
the fees are almost double what they were. They're still very negligible. You all should have had all of those in your packet though, but to have a wedding, it's still $150 to use White Point Garden or Angel Oak or Waterfront Park. Depending on what part of Hampton Park you want and how many people. You can have it for up to 3 hours, 200 people for $300. So the fees are still very much in line with what other places charge, other cities.
Could you circulate that to council?
Could I?
Just the list. I think it'd be good for people to have.
I believe it was included in the agenda.
It was included in the packet, yes.
Still learning.
Yes. Sorry. And again, to apply for a permit, it's $15 for a city resident, $30 for a non-resident.
Any further questions? So we have two items to.
Move for approval. Second.
On which item?
It'll be L1, B2, and 3.
Taking them together?
Yes, just quick discussion. So we will have some just so everybody knows, we're going to give first reading to these fee adjustments tonight, but there will be a couple of changes legals notified me of. So just be prepared. I'll kind of fill you in for second and third reading if you'd like, but other than that, yes, move for approval.
We have a motion that's properly seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it.
The first reading.
And that includes the first reading of the ordinances. So moving on to Committee on Public Safety, I'd like to call on Councilmember Shealy to make a report.
Thank you, Mayor Cogswell. The Committee on Public Safety met back on Wednesday, April 17th. For the Police Department, we approved a law enforcement assistant and support agreement with the Medical University of South Carolina Department of Public Safety. We also approved a law enforcement assistant and support agreement with Berkeley County Sheriff's Office. We had an after the fact approval to submit an application for the SLED State Homeland Security Program grant in the amount of $15,796. Funds will be used to purchase personal radiation detectors for the explosive devices team, and there was no match for that grant. We had an after the fact approval to submit an application for the Law Enforcement Mental Health and Wellness Act grant in the amount of $200,000. Those funds will be used to train and expand the Charleston Police Department peer support team. There was no match required for that grant. For the Fire Department, we had an approval to submit the 2023 Assistance to Firefighter grant in the amount of $231,000 for hazardous materials detection and identification devices. A 10% match for that grant in the amount of $21,000 will be budgeted for 2025. Also for the Fire Department, we had an approval to submit the 2024 State Homeland Security Grant in the amount of $56,000 for Charleston Fire Department Urban Search and Rescue Team. There is no financial impact with that grant in the budget. There was no match. Also for the Fire Department, approval to submit the 2024 State Homeland Security Grant in the amount of $60,400 for Charleston's Low Country Incident Management Team. There is no financial impact. There was no match for that. Those items will need to be voted on, but we did also have a very good, very thorough presentation by Charleston County Emergency Management Division. Ben Webster, the Deputy Director of Emergency Management for Charleston County, made that presentation, and also present was County Council Member Jenny Honeycutt was there as well. So we're very pleased with the county and the way they're trying to work with us with their emergency management as well. There was also a discussion regarding fire coverage on Johns Island. Both of those last two discussions were brought to us by Councilmember Jim McBride, and we appreciate him making the efforts to bring those forward. But I guess we need a motion to approve those items, which were 2A through G, if we could, please.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion properly seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
That concludes my report.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilman Chin. One error, we need to go back, if I may. Apologies, we missed a vote. Councilmember Parker, I believe it was on the lease agreement for the soccer.
Move for approval.
Motion properly seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. All right, now we are moving on to committee report on community development. Would like to call on Councilmember Mitchell for the report.
Okay. Community Development Committee met on April 18th, 2024 at 3 p.m. And we had a couple of items there. And the only item that we had to, vote on was the first item, which was a presentation discussion of the Palmetto Housing Impact Fund. And that was voted on and approved unanimously. So I'd like to get a motion on that one.
Motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
And
Ayes have it.
And item I, AI 2 and 3 and 4, there was presentation and an ordinance that last one is ordinance requiring the landlord or other lessors dwelling units. All those would be coming back to the community development or to city council, because the last item, we wanted to make sure that they're looking at the item that we had already approved one time before pertaining to tenant act that applies for the city of Charleston, distribute notices applying to person applying for rent or prior occupancy. So we want to make sure that they are looking at the ordinance that we have already passed, so we wouldn't have to duplicate any ordinance for that. So all the rest of them was this presentation. So if you have any questions, you can probably get with staff, and staff can probably explain to you more, but they'll be coming back to council or to the community development.
Thank you, Councilman. Thank you, Councilman Mitchell. Moving on now to Committee of Public Works. Chairman Waring had to step out, and Councilman Gregory is not here, but Councilman Seekings,
Apparently.
third man in charge, will give the report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I know Mr. Fountain's here. I'm glad he is. So the Committee on Public Works met last Monday at 5 p.m. That meeting may still be going on. I don't know, maybe they're not here. It was a long meeting. There was a lot going on. We had 3 acceptance and dedications of rights of way. Those were smooth. We got an update from Environmental Services and the mattress recycling program. Then we had a number of updates from the Stormwater Management Department and Mr. Fountain's team. There's a lot on there. If there's anything in particular you want to hear about, I'll go through them very quickly. Mr. Fountain can answer any questions you've got. You may have seen that the low battery seawall, which is now on its final phase, was selected to be on the Public Works Traveling Roadshow program last month. It's been a great project, on schedule, on budget, and now gotten national recognition. So thank you for everyone who's participated in that. We had an update on the municipal golf course bathroom project requested by Councilmember Parker. It is moving, probably not as quickly as everyone would like, but it is going to happen. We will continue to monitor that and make sure it gets done sooner rather than later. It is a project, though, on the move. Am I correct about that? Great. Next was installation of informal signage on small projects so people know what's going on and who's involved. We all agreed that was a really good idea as long as it was at low cost to the city. So I think we'll see on smaller projects, whatever we define smaller projects as, but smaller projects, there will be some recognition that they're city projects so people will understand what's going on and know who to call should they have any questions. What do we got next? Church Creek, we have approval of addendum 23 for $95,000 to the professional services contract with Wolpert for stormwater modeling and other consulting support. As you all know, Church Creek Drainage Basin has lots of challenges, ongoing investigations, both internally with our staff and with Wolpert. More to come on that. Am I correct about that? Okay, great. We had a discussion on the Magnolia Road, Anita Drive drainage, which was asked for by Councilmember Tinkler. I got to be quite honest with you. I don't remember the outcome of that conversation. But I think it was to your satisfaction. Okay, excellent. Fleming and Stir Creek Road ditch widening request by Councilmember Parker. Again, we had a discussion about that. I think we're heading in the right direction, Councilmember Parker. That is another one, again, long meeting. So Matt, help me here, please. Thank you. Might as well give us an update on on all three, Fleming and Stir Creek, Ferguson Village, and the Central Park Road, please.
Sure. So the Fleming Stir Creek Road, this is the very top of the Central Park drainage basin. We did work through a series of outfall issues and maintenance on the non-Central Park side of the project over the last 3 weeks with a number of residents, dropped some lake levels, did some other work in that area in Hollis Lake. And then we're still progressing with AECOM on the design for the actual Central Park Basin, which will be the improvement for the other side of the Fleming Road work. Separately, Councilman Berger had asked us to look at, could we widen some of the ditches in the neighborhood beyond where they are, which is something we are going to take a look at. Obviously that has pluses and minuses, but I think there is neighborhood support in that neighborhood, which is the typical challenge with widening ditches. So we'll be looking into that. The Ferguson Village, we actually had a meeting, I think it was the night after the Polo Works Chili's meeting, public meeting in Ferguson Village, had really good support for the easements that legal and real estate have been helping us draft from some survey work we did. So we're very optimistic we'll be able to start maintaining the ditches through that neighborhood to compound the previous agreement that council had approved with the Charleston Museum, where they are now maintaining the drainage through the Dill property that is across the street from this village. So we have the downstream improved. Now we'll be working through that upstream area. Those will come back through council for easement acceptance. Item 9 is very similar to item 7 in the same area. It's that Central Park Road. Looking at those improvements, again, progressing. We're trying to progress right now to get our core permits in because we know it's a multi-year core permitting process. So trying to get that in and moving while we finalize the rest of the design work for the basin. And we have a outreach meeting that we'll do once we get our stabilization design for the canal basically up to the residents in the Marlboro neighborhood. Then the last item, the medical district tunnel extension, that project is substantially complete. So it is now functional from a stormwater perspective. There is still some water sewer utility work being finished up on that project. Then we have a ribbon cutting for that project scheduled with the governor coming down, and HUD is excited because it's the first project successfully completed in South Carolina for that round of HUD CDBG MIT funding that brought $10 million into that project, and have one pending change order left that we'll bring back to council for some of the issues we've discussed in great detail, but overall very successful project.
Yeah, really cool project. Captures what, 27 acres of northern end of the Calhoun West drainage basin, and it's a really good project. A lot of us have seen it. There was some more on a miscellaneous business. We got an update from Charleston Water Systems about the tanker truck leachate spill, which ironically, I believe was on the front page of the newspaper today. For those who aren't aware, the Charleston Water System is in the business of transporting and storing, treating leachate, which is not particularly, it's malodorous water that comes from, among other places, landfills. They treat it, they do transport it from where it originates to where they treat it. It goes across, among other places, the streets of the city of Charleston. We had an unfortunate spill some number of months, I guess a couple months ago now. Councilmember McBride particularly was concerned about it because it happened in his district. And I think it was good that he brought it to everyone's attention. We had a very long discussion with Charleston Water Systems about what they do with leachate and how they transport it. I think safe to say that there was a level of concern about the fact that they are involved in that business and transporting the waters across Charleston City without us knowing a whole lot about it. We know a lot more about it now. At least they've communicated with us, and we will stay in close communication with them and keep people informed. Matt, go ahead. I see him jumping up and wanting to get in this.
I think it is a contract hauler. They do accept it for treatment at their Johns Island
Right.
location to be able to pump it in.
Yeah, I got it. I get Charleston Water System isn't actually the trucking company that does it, but it is under their rubric. They are the ones who treat the water. They contract it, and it was a contract hauler that was involved in the accident. By the way, one of the things that I think is important to put on the record and everyone understand is that was not a toxic spill of the type that you read about and you think that people are in danger. It was an unfortunate accident. It was cleanupable, and it was cleaned up. But anyway, I think we'll stay in touch with Charleston Water Systems, but hopefully that was a one-off. And then we had an executive session where no action was taken. It was a very long meeting. Thank you all for your patience. I'm not sure there's anything on there that actually needs action, but wanted to make sure I gave an update.
I think the acceptances and dedications
That's the right of ways. So I move that we accept the dedications and right of ways.
and the Church Creek Addendum 23.
Second. So we have a motion probably seconded to accept the right of way and easements. So all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. And the second item was,
The second item was the
The addendum.
Church Creek Addendum 23.
Move for approval.
With Wolford. It's a Wolford addendum.
so we have motion, we have second?
Second.
Motion properly seconded. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. Thank you, Councilman Seekings, for pinch hitting. Now moving on and keeping you on the microphone for.
Thank you very much, Mr.
traffic
Mayor.
and Transportation.
The Committee on Traffic and Transportation met Tuesday, April 23rd at 3 o'clock. It was a much shorter meeting than the Public Works Committee meeting. We got a briefing from the BCD COG about the ATIP grant program. It's now moot because they didn't proceed with that. We are now once again entering into a signal maintenance agreement with the South Carolina DOT, where they send us money and we do their work. They did up our numbers a little bit because there's more signals in the city that we maintain. That was approved unanimously, and we welcomed not one, but two new transportation companies into the city of Charleston, all done unanimously. All three, the signal maintenance agreement and the two certificates of public convenience, need approval of this council, and I so move.
That's a question.
You have a question, Councilman Mitchell?
Yes, I want to ask, with the signal maintenance agreement, it's where is that going to be? If they're going to allow us to do new signals in place?
So the way it works is there are a number of signals in the world that our department maintains that are actually on SCDOT roads and are SCDOT owned and placed signals, but we maintain them. Troy does it, and they then pay us back to do the maintenance on them. And so I believe, I'd have to go back and look at my notes. I think in this, we update it, is it annually? I think it's every 3 years. We update it every 3 years. And in this latest round, this latest update, there are 4 or 5 more signals than there were last time. So the amount of monies that the SCDOT contributes to our team to go actually maintain these signals was upped, but we maintain for the DOT their lights. And that's actually a big advantage to us in the end, especially as technology gets better, so that we can make sure timing and signalization is up to date. So, Councilmember Mitchell, your brother is doing a heck of a job. And we agreed unanimously. He was at the meeting, and I think he was satisfied with the terms of the agreement. I see Mr. Somerville is here as well. So we did pass that unanimously. I'm not sure I answered your
Another question,
question.
Mr. Mayor, we need to get, I'll probably get Mr. Somerville, but we need to really look at Morrison Drive. With the problem that's going on in Morrison Drive, the signals on Morrison Drive, even where, the tragedy that happened a couple of weeks ago, but we also had a tragedy that happened before, which is further down there, the service station in that area, where a young lady was also demised there. And we haven't heard anything about that because you have the service station right across the street. You have a bank right there, which is behind the station. And we haven't heard anything about that program there. So we need to get something and put something in place, even with the DOT, or, signal or something, because Morrison Drive now is like a speedway. And we need to really look at that very carefully and get the DOT to come down and look at that very carefully, because we have to do something there.
Right. So thank you for bringing that up, Councilman Mitchell. You make a really good point. We have been in touch with DOT, particular to Morrison Drive. And what we'll work on, my office will work on for council is an update on some different options that we could perhaps implement there from the city standpoint and potentially from DOT. To try and address some of these dangerous conditions. So thank you for bringing it up, and more on that to come. But we have reached out on that very specific issue. Thank you. Any other questions or any other comments for traffic and transportation? Do we have any actual items on?
All three need action.
Okay.
And I think there's a motion and a second.
On all three. We have a motion and properly seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. All right, let's move on to Ways and Means.
Second.
We have a motion probably seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. We are now up for bills for second reading. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Something I should have caught before, but for the ordinance for the Ways and Means, the first readings, the language for the waterworks is different. So it's not the refunding for 270. The first reading says the 275 for it, new borrowing. So we just want to make sure that we're doing the refunding. I don't know if it matters, but I just wanted to.
So Amy, why don't you just say what the correct?
What's on the Ways and Means part of it is correct. So it should be the refunding bond of $270 million.
Okay.
Okay.
As amended. And explained.
Second.
We have as amended and explained properly, motion and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. We're now on to bills for second reading, which there are 6, right? We have a motion to take bills 1 through 6 and properly seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Move for approval.
Second.
We have a motion and properly seconded to take items 1 through 6. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it.
Now third reading.
And we got, oh wait, I got to read something. Shall these bills pass, the titles thereof be changed to ordinances and be ordered engrossed for ratification?
Yes, please.
So moved. Second.
Motion properly seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. No bills up for first reading. And now I would like to entertain a motion to go into executive session to discuss the proposed city operations facility being contemplated on Herbert Street. We have motion properly seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. We are in executive session. So we need a few minutes to clear the room. That takes, do I have to have a motion to come out?
You did. Yes.
I gotta sign a bunch of things.
Yes, we need to sign. Actually, if you can sign them now, those are the ordinances. You need a pen, I got.
What? I got one.
And we are good to go when you are. You'll need a motion and a second to.
All right, I need a motion to go out of executive session.
Motion to come out of executive session.
I have a motion properly seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. And
In the mic, if there's no further business.
if there is no further business, meeting is adjourned.